So I'd like to welcome everyone here to DevCon in Orlando. It's finally here. A lot of preparation going into this for our team. My name is Randall Richardson, and I'm a lead technical instructor here at Appian for our education services team. And we deliver instructor-led training to customers and partners like yourselves around the world. And I'm so happy to be with you here today, stepping you through this workshop where we're going to be creating classification and extraction models. We're processing documents at scale with Appian DocCenter, and you'll have a chance to do some hands-on in this workshop. This is our agenda. Once we get through our welcome, we'll get into the build, where I'll be stepping you through the hands-on part of this workshop before wrapping up, when you'll have a chance to do some testing. A little bit on logistics. We have a lot of content to cover today, so please save your questions if you can for the end. Also, if there is a quick question mid-build or you miss a click, you can raise your hand. We do have some friendly Appian experts around the room that will be right on over to help you out, so please do that if you need the help. Let's review intelligent document processing, or IDP, that we can use to process incoming documents or emails that your business receives. And we can actually use the data from the extraction in your own process model workflows. So with IDP, we can use DocCenter that makes it easy to use artificial intelligence to do this, and can use pre-trained models within that AI. Here is an example of DocCenter. This is an app that you can use to create your own extraction and classification models, as well as to monitor their related instances. And if needed, you can potentially iterate through them. So DocCenter can handle complex documents that are either structured or unstructured, and we can monitor them. We can also use new features that are available for AI review, and also with straight-through processing. Not only do we have AI review, but we also can perform threshold checking. We can set thresholds in it, and there's a feature called confidence thresholds that we can use to flag these documents if they need to be reviewed manually. We also do support a new feature for auto-scaling with DocCenter, so that will support higher throughput and higher volumes of documents processing with DocCenter. This is our use case for today. It'll be for Prospera Bank, and it involves loan purchasing. And what they do is they purchase loans from smaller banks. They receive a document packet with a variety of different documents in that packet, and that's going to happen for each purchased loan. And what they're interested in doing is using a new feature for packet splitting with DocCenter that will classify and split up this packet into the classified documents. And then what we have time for in this workshop is to extract data from one of those documents. These are the exercises that we'll be stepping you through today with DocCenter. The first two are done with DocCenter to create a classification model, and then a second one for an extraction model. Then we'll hop into the designer, and we'll incorporate both of those models into our own process model workflow. And then if there's enough time, we'll be testing our work. This is where we're headed. These are the classifications that we're going to be using. They involve the landlord letter, the W-2, the bank statement, the ID, and the closing disclosure form. And then our second model will be extracting data from the landlord letter. You can see the fields to the right that we're interested in extracting. So it's time for our build, and if you haven't already, go ahead and access your learning environment there at 1-DevCon, 26.appian.community. follow the instructions. There should be a button to get your workspace if this is your first time. Otherwise, just hop into the designer, and I'll do the same. So I'm going to been there before. I'm going to go to the designer. And for our purposes in this class, there is going to be a workspace prefix that we're going to use. See if you can find the workspace prefix for your loan purchasing application. That's the one that we're using for this workshop. So I have mine here that I'm using for this workshop. Copy that and put it into a notepad or some text file for text editor, because we're going to use that in our naming conventions for our DocCenter model. So I'm just going to copy and paste that and put that over here into notepad that I prepared. I'll include the LP because this is for loan purchasing. And that'll be for uniqueness. So once you've done that, we're going to go to the waffle menu on the upper right. We're going to use 3 sites in this class. The first site is the exercise guide site. And if you navigate there and just select the exercise guides, from here, there's the DocCenter. You can click on it, and it will download an exercise guide that's been prepared for you by our expert instructional designers. And it's probably best if you open up a browser tab with that exercise guide. That'll make it easy for you to follow along. And we're going to be copying from that to speed things up a little bit. So you'll want to be able to copy and paste from that exercise guide. If you've been able to download that and open it, just give me a thumbs up so I know. Thank you. And then if you scroll over to page 3, there is an example of the document packet that we'll be using. Includes the documents that we saw on the slide for the W-2, the closing disclosure form, the ID, the landlord letter, and the bank statement. And then the steps for this exercise start on page 4. If you scroll down there, step number 4 of page 4, there's a reference to the model that we're going to be creating. We're going to jump now to the second site, which is DocCenter. So from your exercise guide side, if you just go to the waffle menu and go to the DocCenter, it'll be there. Select DocCenter. It'll bring you to the landing page, and you'll see the buttons at the top. The quickest way to create a classification model is just select that button at the top there, and then it'll want the name of the model. So again, you can use your prefix to keep the name unique. And just copy and paste that in, your prefix if you can, and then also the name you can copy from the exercise guide, and this will be for the home loan document packet. You can include the description also in the exercise guide there in step 4 if you'd like to copy and paste that. And then notice to the right, it's actually built a key for you. For our purposes in this workshop, go ahead and copy that because we're going to reference that from our process model workflow later. So it'll be quicker if you have a copy of it. And you can put that into your text file, which I'm going to do as well. Okay, so I just copied that key. From here, we'll take the defaults. Go ahead and click on Next to the lower right. And an important step here is to select the second option there to split packets into individual documents. This is a new feature with DocCenter. Go ahead and select that. And then we're going to be defining categories down below in your exercise guide. If you scroll over to page 5, you'll see a screenshot of the example categories that we want, and there's a table right underneath that that'll make it easy. You can copy from that table, starting with the category for the ID. So I'm just going to put that into the first row with the description. You can do the same. And then to add a second category, there's a link down below. Just click on that to add another category and continue on with the next one for the landlord letter. So for the landlord letter, this is probably the most important for this workshop. Make sure as it is in the exercise guide, that the landlord starts with an uppercase L and the letter has a lowercase l, because we're going to reference it that way later in our process model workflow. And then also make sure that there is no space after that R. Then you can put the description in, which will also be in your exercise guide. Then add another category and continue with the others. So when you're finished there, should be 5 categories for the ID, landlord letter, W-2, closing disclosure, and bank statement. The 6th row will say other because we're using the packet splitting feature that's new. And if you have that, just give me a thumbs up so I know you're keeping along good. Again, the exercise guide will have those steps. If you fell behind, over on page 5 is where those steps are. And from here, we'll take the defaults. So click on Next on the lower right there. It'll bring you to step 3, where you have a default model returned, as well as a role. It's written a prompt for you to the right. We could further refine this if we wanted to, but we want to see how it does with these defaults. So on the lower right, go ahead and select Create. And then to the left, select Classification and Models and search for your model. And if you use your Workspace prefix number, it should find your model. So here's mine. You should find yours. When you do, just select it. And then on the upper right, there's a button where we can run the classification. So just click Run Classification there. Due to potential network restrictions in our network, we're not going to be uploading a document, which we could. Instead, we're going to use a previously uploaded document. And if you look here, over on page 6, they have the name for it for the home loan packet for testing. So just type that in, starting with the H, home loan packet for testing. And then toggle on the set as a test case. This will create a test case as well. So go ahead and click Classify on the lower right for that home loan packet for testing, and it will start an instance. Depending on the size and complexity of this document packet, your timings can vary. If you click on the Instances link at the top, there is some arrows on the far right, upper right. If you click on that, you can see that the instance is initiated and you can monitor the status of it. You can also use the option here to view the document. And if you click on that option to view the document, you can see the documents in the packet, including the W-2, the bank statement, the ID, and the landlord letter. And finally, the closing disclosure form, all in this packet. There's an X there on the upper right you can use to close it when you're done. And while we wait, you can click the Testing tab to see your test cases. So here we can see this one is not reconciled. You can go to the Versions tab to see the most recently published versions. So this is version 1 for me. And if you want to review the prompt, you can click the Prompt tab at the top, and you can see the prompt that Appian wrote. And then we'll go back to the Instances tab to monitor the status. And again, you can click on the arrows on the upper right here for the instances. While we wait, I'm going to jump to our exercise guide. Next, we're going to be reconciling it, and it's a best practice in Appian to keep the human in the loop. This gives us an opportunity to review what AI did, and if changes are needed, we can further refine it. Remember that we're using pre-trained models, and their behavior can be non-deterministic based on probabilities. So it's a good idea to review it, to see how it did, and further refine it if we need to using the reconciliation feature. So I'm going to come back over here to my instances and use the arrows there to refresh, and you can see already mine is classified as the status. And if yours is not, just wait a few more moments, it should be done. Then you can click on it, the link itself, and you'll see the classifications in the document to the right, and then to the upper right, there's the button to do the reconciliation. So go ahead and click that button when you can for reconciling in the instance. And to the left, you'll see the classifications starting with the W2. So it shows that starts on page 1 and ends on page 1 with the document to the right from the packet. Without changing anything, what we'll be doing is scrolling down. Notice it also gives you reasoning on why it gave it this classification. I'm going to expand the bank statement. You can do this as well. You can see the bank statement and the reasoning starting on page 2, ending on page 3. We can scroll down and see that. Then the ID, the same, just scroll down, starting on page 4, ending on page 4 for the ID. And then again, the one of most interest to us in this workshop is landlord letter. You can see the reasoning. Okay, so this looks good, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on Submit. Go ahead and review yours, and if yours looks also good, go ahead and click Submit, and what it will do is calculate an accuracy score. Okay, so once you've had a chance, go ahead and do that. And I'm going to jump to our exercise guide. The steps for reconciliation were here on page 7. And I do want to point out there is a screenshot. The easiest way to get to that accuracy score is to click the link that comes back. You'll see it on the page once you've submitted it, and you'll be able to click that link, and it will then show you the accuracy score that it calculates. Okay, so that will bring us to page 8, and that's also where we'll start our second exercise. So I'm going to hop back over here, and while that finishes up, there we go. There is the instance details. Yours still might be finishing. If it is, just watch as I click this link, and then you can do the same. And you click on that link, and it will show you the accuracy score. So mine's at 100% there. And if yours is finished, also a thumbs up so I know that it finished for you. I see from the back it did. Okay, thank you, and some from the middle. Okay. All right, so for the next exercise, this will be the extraction model, also done from DocCenter. And even if yours hasn't quite calculated that accuracy score, you can move forward to this one. We're going to be navigating back to the home page and creating one for the landlord letter using our prefix. So I'm going to go back over to DocCenter. I'm going to go to the home page at the top left, click on that, and this time use the blue button to create the extraction model. That'll be at the top of the screen there for the home page. It'll ask for the name. Again, start that with your prefix to keep it unique. And then you can copy that name to make it easy from page 8 for the landlord letter. Include the description. And then notice it also builds a key for you here to the right. To make it easy in the process model workflow, right now go ahead and copy that key, put it into your text file, because we'll be referencing that later from our process model workflow. Okay, so that'll be our first step. From here, we're going to take the defaults in step 2. We'll leave the additional options as they are. On the lower right, you can select Next. For the main section, we'll select Next, taking the defaults, and it'll bring us to step 3 to choose a method. So we're going to do this manually, again, because there can be network restrictions on some of our machines, And there are options to extract from a document that we upload, but we're going to just do this manually. So click Next, and that'll bring us to the field definitions. If you jump to your exercise guide, there's a nice little screenshot over on page 9 of the fields that we want. And if you keep going over to page 10, you can copy those from the table that you see there on page 10, starting with the letter date. Okay, so you can just copy and paste that into the first field. The label is used to tell the model what to look for in the landlord letter, in this case the date. The data type is going to be date on that. We'll take the defaults for list, method, and instructions, and then add a row by clicking the link to add the row. Go ahead and add one for the next two, tenant 1 and tenant 2. Add a row for each. They'll both be text. Then the lease start date and also the lease end date. Then get the others. That final one for rent paid on time will be Boolean. The labels are used to tell the model what to look for. We can also provide instructions to further refine that, and in this case we're doing that to tell the model what we mean by being paid on time, and that's being paid in full and on time for the instructions on the last one. So give it one last look there. There should be, I believe, 8 rows. And if that's what you have, give me a thumbs up. If you're keeping up there, thank you. See lots of those. And from here, you can click Next. Again, you can further refine the prompt if you needed to. You can see the default model, the role. We're going to use the defaults here, so just select Create there on the lower right. It'll create our model. And from here, you can go to the left, expand the extraction menu, select Models, and search for the model that you just created. Probably easiest to do that with your prefix. So I'm going to search for mine. Once you have found it, go ahead and select your model. There'll be a button then on the upper right to run the extraction. So just select that button. And when it asks you to select the document, we have previously uploaded a document for you. It's called the landlord letter for testing, so select that. And then an important step for our workshop is to toggle on the set as test case. And that way we can show a feature for reconciliation a little bit later. Okay, so everybody find that landlord letter? And click on Extract to kick off an instance. Again, depending on the size and complexity of this landlord letter, the timings can vary here. So to monitor that, you can go to the Instances link. If you don't see it initially, you can refresh and monitor the status. There's an option there to view the document as well if you want to check it out. This is the landlord letter. Use the X on the upper right to close it. And like we saw with the classification model, you can look at the testing. In this case, I've got one test case, currently not reconciled. You can go to the versions link at the top to see the most recently published version. We'll come back to straight-through processing here in a moment. You can look at the prompt that Appian wrote for you, and then come back to the instances to see where the status is. Again, you can use the arrows there to refresh. Best practice to keep the human in the loop. Again, because generative AI can be non-deterministic, and so it's all based on probabilities, and it's a good idea to check out what the extraction looks like. So if you click on the arrows there to refresh, here you can see mine is already extracted. Yours should be soon if it hasn't already. And you can actually click on the link for that instance once you do have it. And you'll see on the upper right, we have a button there as well to reconcile the fields. So like we did with the classification model, we use that button on the upper right, click on Reconcile Fields, and I love this form. If you look at it to the left, you'll see the fields that have been extracted in the values. On the right, you see the document. There's nice highlighters here that you can click on to see where in the document the data came from. So here is the letter date. It highlights that in pink on the far right in the document. Here in the first sentence is where tenant 1 was. Here is where tenant 2 came from. So you can quickly look this over and see how the model did. You could refine it if you found maybe the value was not extracted correctly. Mine looks good. Yours should also look good here. Once you're done reviewing, go ahead and click Submit there on the lower left, and it will automatically calculate an accuracy score for you. So go ahead and do that, and I have done that as well. And when I go back over to the exercise guide, what I just showed was the running of the extraction over on page 10, followed by the reconciliation over on page 11. So I'm just scrolling to get caught up here. Next, we're going to be running the test case, and we'll see a link there like we did for the classification model that we can click on to get to the button we need to run that test case. Okay, so here you can see my accuracy score was calculated 100%, and then underneath is that link I was talking about. Go ahead and click that link. That's the quickest way to get to this other button. Click that link, and then look on the upper right, and you'll see the option to run all the test cases. So when you have test cases, what you can do is you can use this button, go ahead and click on that, run all tests, and what that will do is assert values from our previous test case. I'm going to click Run to do that. And a nice option here is it will automatically reconcile it using that previous test case. To monitor it, you can go to the instances. If you don't see it yet, you can use the arrows to refresh. Here's my second instance. It's just been initiated. And while we wait for this, we'll jump to the straight-through processing to show you some new features. So if you click that straight-through processing tab at the top, notice down below we have confidence threshold, sampling rate, and AI review. I'm going to click on the pencil. You can watch this one if you want. If you want to look, you can, but I'm not going to turn it on. There's a toggle here for the confidence threshold that I could enable. It defaults to 70%. And if the model's confidence in the extraction falls below that percentage, it can be flagged for human review manually. So I'm going to turn that back off. That's a feature that we have here under the straight-through processing. There's also a sampling rate. And if that were to be turned on, what we can have it do is to sample a percentage of documents. That's 20%. And this can be used to review manually to make sure there's not data drift in the models happening. I'm going to disable that. The final one is an AI review that can be turned on. And in addition to human in the loop, we can also have another AI model review what the previous AI model extracted. So you do have the options to set the fields, and you also have an option to select the model that you want to use for that review. So for this one, again, I'm going to disable that, toggle it off, click the X, and go back to the instances. So again, those settings include some new features. And over here, you can see mine is blue. It says extracted in the instances link. If I just wait a few more moments and then refresh it, watch what happens, I hope. Sure enough, it shows it's automatically been reconciled. And that's, again, because I ran the test case. So it asserts those values and does the reconciliation automatically for me. So definitions in your exercise guide for straight-through processing are there if you're interested in looking at them later. We're moving into exercise 3, where we're going to be jumping to the designer and referencing our models using those keys I had you copy. There are some instructions here. If you missed a step there, I'll show you where you can find them for the classification model. So here in DocCenter, if I go back to classification menu and models and look for my model with the prefix that I have, again, you don't need to do this if you don't have the key, but if you miss the key, then you can follow along. This is the model, and if I go to the 3 dots there, right under Update Details, I can find it. So this is the key. Again, the reason we're going to use this is later in our process model workflow, we'll reference that key value. So if you missed copying it, you can get it from there. And similarly, you'll find one for your extraction model the same way under the extraction page. All right, so the next step I'm going to reference here in our exercise guide for page 14. We're going to be going into the designer. We have a partially built out process model workflow that we're going to be adding to. And at the bottom of page 14, there is a process model that we're going to reference. It's called the AIA Classification Run Model version. AIA Classification Run Model version. So we're going to search for that on the palette. I'm going to jump to the designer myself here. When you get to the designer, the application that you're using is loan purchasing with your Workspace prefix. That's the application that you're going to be using, right? So loan purchasing with your prefix, click on it. And then in the process model, the easiest way to find that is to check the checkbox for process model on the left. It should show it to you. Go ahead and open it up. And on the upper left here in the search tab is where I'm going to put that name. So again, the name of it is going to be AIA Classification Run Model version. AIA Classification Run Model version. You can move your mouse over just to double check, make sure that's what it is, and then drag and drop that in between the start node and your script task onto the arrow, making sure that arrow turns blue so that it's connected. And you'll see that it's a subprocess. We also do support the start process smart services, but on this one, we're going to use a subprocess. We need to configure this, so double click on it. Go to the Setup tab. Again, you can check the name is AIA Classification Run Model version. Then there's a couple of input variables we need to add. One is going to be for the document. And the easiest way to select this is from the drop-down. It'll be for the document packet. And the next one for the input variable would be the model key. So go ahead and select the pencil to the right for the model key. And then you can use the double quotes and copy over your key for your document packet model. So that should be from Notepad that I had you reference, and make sure that goes in between those double quotes there. And then you can save and close that. Again, that went into the model key process variable. So we got a document packet, and we've got our model key. We also need an output variable. So if you click the link for adding that down below, the output variable that we want is for the classification instance. So select that process variable and map that to a subprocess variable that also says classification instance. If you have that, just give me a thumbs up so I know you're keeping along. Very good, thank you. And then you can click OK on the lower right. So that's for the subprocess. The next 2 nodes have been completed already for us. The script task to map the classification data, we'll map that to a record type. And then the node after that for writing the home loan documents, we'll write that to our record type for our data fabric. We do need to configure the next script task over for getting the docs and extraction models, and I'm going to reference the exercise guide there. Those steps are going to be over at the bottom of page 16 is where they start. And then you'll see some screenshots moving into page 17 if you're referencing that. So it's this script task right here that says get docs and extraction model. Select it, go to the data tab, and on the data tab, notice the inputs. On the lower left, select the extraction model keys. It'll turn blue. And to the right, there's a pencil that you can click on for the value to see the expression, and then just use the wand. That's probably the easiest way to see the expression. We're using abang for each here. That's a looping function in Appian that we're going to use to iterate through our process variable. And the expression is using an abang match to find the category. We've already written in line 5 the reference to the landlord letter. That's where we're using the uppercase L for landlord and lowercase l for letter. That actually references our extraction model that we have. And then we also want to include the key. So that key is also going to be hopefully in Notepad here for you. Again, you can find that in DocCenter under the update details if you didn't copy it before. And we can just put that then here in between those double quotes for the extraction model key. Replace what is there and then include it. So once you have that, you can do a save and close. The abang for match in this case is matching that key with the model. If there were time, you could add other keys and other models for extraction, include those in the same expression. But right now we're just interested in the landlord letter, so click on save and close. So that should be it for this one. You can click OK. And jumping over to our exercise guide, moving forward, they've got some screenshots of what we did and how to find the extraction model key if you need it. And then over to the bottom of page 19, we're going to be adding another subprocess. And the process model that we're interested in this time is called AIA Extraction Run Model Version. That's at the top of page 20. So again, we can put that into the search tab on the upper left, AIA Extraction Run Model Version. There it is for me. You can drag and drop that one over between the two script tasks. That's another DocCenter process model. Make sure the arrow turns blue. And then you can double click on it. Go to the Setup tab and review the name. So again, that's AIA Extraction Run Model Version. So like before, we have some input variables to configure. For the document, go ahead and click the pencil. And what's going to be important here is we want to reference the process variable and index to the document ID. So the process variable that we're going to want here is to the left, probably the easiest way to get it. And it's going to be documents for extraction. If you expand that, there is a document ID. Go ahead and select the document ID for that. So it'll pass over the process variable, indexing into the document ID, so we get to the right document. We will be enabling MNI in this in a moment, so after you add that variable in, add another set of square brackets, scroll down to the lower left and find the task properties, and select the instance index. This is going to add TP bang index to your expression. And this is used with MNI that we'll be setting here in a moment so we get to the right instance for this document. So it'll look something like that after you selected it, ending with TP bang instance index. Once you have that, save and close it. So that's for the document, but we also need the key. So for this step, down below in your exercise guide, we're moving on to the next page. That's going to be 22 for the extraction model keys. So if you go to the process variable for the model key and select the pencil there, the process variable will be for the extraction model keys. Just select it, and then like you did before, add the square brackets, find the task properties, find the instance index, and again, the reason we're doing this is it's a best practice when using MNI to find the right instance. Okay, so if you have that one, just give me a thumbs up so I know. Keep it up there, thank you. Then click Save and Close. We have not yet enabled MNI, so we're going to do that. All we've done is set the input variable for the model key in the document. Let's jump to the Other tab next on the upper right. And this is where we're going to enable multiple node instances. Just check this box, and then we're going to run one instance in your exercise guide. The instance that we're going to look for is mentioned. It's there on page 23, and it's documents for extraction. So you can select that one. Then we want it to finish. We want it to move on when all instances are done, so select the radio button for that. So this is what it should look like. So once you have that, click OK on the lower right there, and then save and publish your process model using the menu option on the upper left. Check for errors. And then we'll go to our third site that we're going to be testing with. Off the waffle menu, you should have a loan site with your prefix. Go ahead and select that loan site. And then it'll ask for a loan number. And if you just type in loan 100 there, it should find loan number 100. That'll be the first one we test with. And then there's a link there to use the example document packet. Just click that link, and it will then retrieve that home loan packet. From here, you can select Upload. Okay, so this is going to kick off our process model workflow that will call our classification model, do those classifications, and then the second one to do the extraction. I have one that has finished. It will take a few moments for yours to finish. I'm going to go back to it so you can just watch this on my side. When you're monitoring this, you can go to the loans page and you'll be monitoring 100. Okay? I had tested one earlier under 129 of this other page, and you can see here this is finished. It's come up with the classifications and shows in the tag there that it was extracted from the landlord letter. Okay, so this is what it should look like after a few moments. Those steps are also included in your exercise guide here on page 24 with an example of what you should see there on page 25. And then finishing up there on page 26. Okay? So kind of in conclusion, what we've seen is how easy it is to use DocCenter to set up classifications for a packet using the feature we showed with packet splitting. And we also showed an extraction from a landlord letter. Then we incorporated both of those into our own process model workflows. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. It was really fun to be preparing for this and delivering it here for you. If there's any questions afterwards, I encourage you to stop by and talk to me or to one of our experts around the room. Please fill out your session surveys in the app before you leave. We'll use those to prepare for the next Appian World. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for being here.